Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Hello.
People are there, are writing us. It's so cool. It's really exciting. It's really.
Okay, so thank you very much indeed to all of you again to be here. It's really great. I'm just for information, I'm taking my chat off as I'm speaking, so I won't see your comments immediately, but Cristina is definitely there. Cristina is definitely there for you in case you have any issue, and otherwise we will swap during the workshop. So when I'm not speaking, I'm checking your comments, issues, anything, and the same applies to Cristina when she's speaking. Okay, so I will share my screen. Okay, give me just a very quick second. All right, so you should be seeing my screen now. Perfect, and you can see it on the window that has appeared. You can double click on that window if you want to see a larger screen. Okay, I will not be seeing you as I moved to another video, another screen, but again, let me know if you have any issue. Maybe also if it's really a burning question or anything, maybe Cristina, just let me know and we can get started. Okay, so without much further ado, thank you again for being here. We start with the material from this workshop, a unified approach for writing automatic reports. So we will be speaking about parameterization and generalization of R-Markdown. As we have seen from the levels at the beginning, that we have different people, different skill levels to this session, to this workshop. That's absolutely fine. And why we thought about this workshop? Because we use it in our daily work, both with direct work and research. Really, it's really useful as it's a really useful tool to create reports for customers, for research partners, sharing new projects among friends, and all of that. But this tool really has a lot of potential that we will touch briefly on this, and we will show you also a little bit about how can you generalize a parameterized report and use it to analyze really different facets of your data. Okay, the instructors, so is me and Cristina. 2 words very quickly about this. We are both data scientists. As Cristina said at the beginning, we are not IT people. We analyze data. That is what we do for work. Cristina has worked also in the past at FAO, so for the United Nations as a statistician and R developer, and I have worked on as a researcher, analyst, and data scientist in different organizations. The most important thing is that you can see here our GitHub links. You can find our work on ResearchGate in case you're interested. And you can tweet to us on Twitter. These are our accounts, so feel free to get in touch if you have questions, issues, or comments. Most importantly, you will see that you have 2 ways to follow this workshop. One is through our Studio Cloud, which is very helpful. And the other way to do that is to download the material on GitHub. We will go there very briefly. You have to go to Cristina's GitHub to find all the material. So just go there and see what is available. It's all, of course, open source, and you can download it from there. Okay, very briefly on the topics of today. So we will start touching on the basics of RMD reporting. We will then discuss about how to create parametric reports. This is a very useful thing about R-Markdown. Basically, you can select parameters to modify the layout of your report and also to analyze specific parts of your data. And especially it makes the report reproducible, which is something that you in the first person want to have, trust me. And then we will look at how to create custom parameters. We will get into the details during the session. Then we will discuss generalized reports. So how can you use functions to create a generalized version of your. And then we wanted to give you an example of a fully fleshed package that uses generalized and parameterized reports. This is we will not get into all of the details of our package. This is just a useful thing for you to see. We believe because it allows you to create an environment in which you can insert all of your functions and create reports in an automatic way. Okay, so this is the schedule. This is really just an idea of the schedule, because we will see we will just adjust accordingly. We will have 2 short breaks during the session. We know that 3 hours is a long time for everybody, so there will be some break time where you can review the material, get coffee, and all of that. We want to stay on the code, so we'll be very brief about everything else. Workshop material, how to follow this workshop. You have 2 ways. The first one is through RStudio Cloud. You should have received all the information via email, I believe, and you can log in on RStudio Cloud environment. We saw that some of you have already done it. I've already joined RStudio Cloud. That's great. Great to see you being proactive. You have another option to follow the material. You can clone or download the GitHub. So you just have to go to Muschitiello's GitHub, the one you saw before, but is reported also over here. So just go on github.com/muschitiello/e-Rum2020. You can clone or download the folder in case you want to follow through your local machine. Either if you are having trouble with the connection, you can just maybe follow us through audio and download the material. All the material is there, including the slides, including the code, including the exercises, solutions. So we will really try to make it as easy as possible for you to follow us remotely. So just go there, download everything, try to follow us through audio if you are having problems with audio, and let us know if there's any issue. Workshop material, if you run locally, you have to download the following packages. And thank you very much to one of the participants. Unfortunately, I'm not sure who, but we received a comment on our code about using the package Pacman. So you can just run this code that is over here, and it's also in the material in the GitHub. These are the packages that you will need in case you follow this session on your computer. So make sure that you have all of these packages installed and loaded in your session. Okay, workshop materials again. The RStudio Cloud link is here on top, and the GitHub report is also available there. You should have received all of the 2 in the email. Just let us know if you have any issue. The cat is not included, just to let you know.
Okay, we will start with. I'm starting with a very basic, of course, introduction for R-Markdown. Probably there is something that is very, I mean, it's completely known to all of you, probably, as I saw there are not very many basic level people, so that probably there are some very easy things for everybody. Okay, let's start just saying really 2 words on R-Markdown. As you all know, Markdown is an authoring framework for data science. Actually, I really love the definition that Carl Ho, which is the director of education in our studio, gave to his audience in a session I attended with him, which is very interesting. And he defined it a system for creating structured computational document, which is a definition that I really enjoyed and I really liked. So, okay, so the YAML header is everything is included between the 3 dashes, and it includes the metadata. There might be lots of metadata actually, and is this section the one with which you can define parameters, and so we will use this section a lot in the next part of this workshop. So here you define the title, output date, author, and many other things. Then, for example, you can see here, you can also use code inside the YAML section. As for this very simple example, the definition, the automatic definition of the time, which is done here using this piece of code. We will see how to use this section in more detail later, but you can find here a link for more details about that. You will find actually a few of these links all around our slides, because we always want to quote the sources we use, and also for you to have more material. Now, let's move on a little bit with the other components of Markdown very quickly. The second one is the text. Also, these, what I'm showing you is also something that you can find almost everywhere. So you can put a header, different levels of headers using the hash, and then you can create italics into different ways. You can create inline code and links and so on. But I think that this is just something of what you can do with the text. So it's just a little piece of the syntax of R-Markdown, which I think probably you all know. Then you can use, you can also put mathematics inside your Markdown, and you can use it with basically with the LaTeX syntax, and you can put it inside 1 or 2 dollar sign, let's say. If you put just $1, then you will obtain inline math code. If you use 2, then you will use a centered math code, so that will put it on a different line basically and center it. And here you can find also some suggestion for the use of mathematics inside an R-Markdown document. So other thing is, of course, code chunks, which are, of course, one of the main reasons for you to use R-Markdown, that of putting your code inside your document. You know that you can put chunks using this syntax, and then you have different chunk options like include or echo for prevents, for example, or making code and results appearing in the final file or not. Or for making other things. This is just a few, of course, these are just 2 examples of the options that you can put in a chunk code. You can find a complete list on this link that we put here. And as I was saying, you can also put chunks of different codes like Python or C++. It's something that we are going to show in this workshop, but it's something very interesting to know sometimes. Here, there are some resources you can use, just 3 of the lots of resources you can find, but we think, of course, the cheat sheets are always a good way of having information on how to use an instrument, but then there are also interesting books that you can find and you can buy. If you are hearing some weird sounds, it's because my cat is playing with something I've not really understood what. I'm sorry about that. One thing I want to tell you is that you can find cheat sheets also in RStudio Cloud. Sorry, baby. Thank you. You can find cheat sheets it's here in RStudio, on RStudio Cloud. In this section, you can find some very interesting cheat sheets that you can use.
And now we speak about parameterization. This is quite useful because basically you can use parameters in the YAML section, so the very top of your R&D report, in order to recall parts of your data, change the layout of the report. It's very useful when you have to create something and share it with your collaborators on different type of projects, and we will get into the details immediately. Okay, so we have two typologies of parameterization. All the parameterization happens in the YAML section of the report, so at the very beginning of the report. Again, YAML, as you have seen before, is very useful. It has a lot of functionalities. You have to be very careful with indentation and making sure that everything is spelled correctly, otherwise your code won't run. You have two types of parameters. The first ones are document parameters that basically allows you to change and customize the layout of the report. So you can have, say, a very simple and basic report style, or you can make it more flashy and more interesting, and changing maybe, I don't know, introducing the table of contents and make it a little bit more rich. On the other side, you have output parameters, and this type of parameters basically allow you to run the code on a specific subset of your data. So, for example, if you have a report that is customer specific, you can specify the customer ID on the parameters, and you will run it accordingly. So we will get into the details in a second. Okay, so as we were saying before, indentation matters. So very often it can be, say, quite frustrating when you're getting started with R&D. At the very beginning, because for example, if you look at the example on the top, the example on the top won't work just because of the indentation. So it's very sensitive to the indents. Keep up with it. After a while, it will become more and more automatic to make sure that everything is working appropriately. So if you have any issues running your R&D, or knitting the R&D, make sure that this part is okay, maybe running a little bit, just a small part of your report first. Make sure it's okay, make sure it runs, and then you know you're safe and good to go. Well, we start by speaking about style. Style matters. And the simple Markdown report that you have seen in the previous part with Cristina is very plain and simple. It's functional. It works. If you don't have time, okay, fine. You can use that. There's absolutely no problem with it. On the other side, if you have to share your report with other people, co-workers, or maybe some stakeholders in your organization, having a stylish markdown is useful. Is not mandatory, of course, but if you make sure that your report is readable, it's actually beautiful to look at. People will pay more attention to it. It's something that we saw during our work. So you can change the theme. There's a gallery of themes that you can select. I think there's some other themes that have been added to the chat before. You can add components or parts in your YAML section, like the number of sections, section number in the text. You can create a table of content. This is useful if you have to create a technical report. Me and Cristina had used it in our daily work because basically we were sharing a report on data cleaning of a very complex data set. And having a table of content was very useful to move across the parts that we were more interested in the report. You can change the format of the R code, and you can make some links to bibliography. Bibliography is not as developed as an LaTeX, but I think that there are some link citations options available. Here there are some styles, prickly dot styles. You can select the one you like the most. You can also create your own version. You can customize it. There's the Kaiman, Tactile, Architect, which I personally like, Leonidas, Hipsters, and many others. So select the one you like the most, or create your own, make a beautiful template, and then you can reuse it again in the future in other comments, in other projects. Okay. So we can make the document parameter dependent. Basically, what we can do is to specify the params. So up to now, we saw all the parameters that are linked to the layout of your report. You can also include other type of parameters in the params section. So you can specify, for example, the month, the year, the name of the person running this report, and you can also include quantitative parameters. We included a very simple one, sequence equal to 100. You can recall the parameters in the text using this code here. So this will basically make the parameters appear in your document. Why it's used to work on parameters? It might be very tempting to create your own R&D report quickly, with a quick and dirty report. It's always useful to use parameters if you can, because it ensures that your report is reproducible. So, for example, if you create an analysis that is run for a specific customer, you can make the customer ID part, you can make it a parameter, and that will make sure that the next time your boss asks you for a new report for another customer that you didn't thought of, you just have to change the parameter and you're done. Also, you can use reports, and you can use parameters to analyze specific sections of your data. Later on in the workshop, we will see some real-life examples using prescriptions, so drugs data. And in there, you will see that there is quite a rich data set with many different sections for primary care doctors, different areas of England. And yeah, we can make the individual GPs, individual doctors, a parameter, and you will see how it works in practice. Okay, so we spoke before about the real-life example. Today in the workshop, we will use a practice level prescribing data. This is a fantastic data source which is available from the NHS. So we are in England. This is the National Health System data, which is open source, is available to everybody online. It's quite useful. It's a very rich data set about prescriptions. So basically, this tells you what drugs do GPs provide, so doctors, primary care doctors, what do they provide to people in each individual month. So say, for example, if your doctor has prescribed you an antibiotic, this will be registered in this data. This data is then aggregated by the type of drug, the drug class, and it's completely available online. It's a very rich data set. So for each month, you have more than 1.5 gigabytes of information, and it starts from September 2011. So it's really, really rich, and we use it for our example today. Okay, in practice, how does it work? This is the structure of the data set. There are many data sets inside of this output. We will focus on this one, so it's very simple. We have some administrative codes, so a strategic health authority code that tells you where you are in England, primary care trust, which is an old grouping of doctors. We have the practice code that tells you which doctor are you looking at. Say Mr. Jones or Mrs. Smith will be identified, the practice of Mr. Jones or Mrs. Smith will be identified with this code. We have the BNF code that stands for British National Formulary. It basically is a alphanumeric code for the type of drugs that you have been prescribed. You have the name. I don't know any of these. fluoxetine. You see, you get the point. This is basically just the type of drug that is provided from the doctor to the patient. You have the number of items. Of course, this is aggregated. So, for example, we know that the practice, this one over here, has provided Phenergan 3 times. This is the net ingredient cost, which is the cost to the NHS, to the National Health System, of this specific drug and this specific prescription. This is what we will be analyzing today. We have the actual cost, which is another type of accounting for cost, the quantity, and the period. So very simple, few columns, and these are the main points.
Okay, here she is. Hello. So good to see you.
Thank you for the great workshop. I'm enjoying it, and I have a question, because in the conference I saw that it's possible to create some documents with some editing chunks. Is it possible, like in Jupyter Notebook?
Time editing chunks. What do you mean with time editing chunks? Sorry, probably I don't know that.
When you generate the HTML and you can edit at the moment when you are showing your document, maybe you can change some parameters or some code and see the results at the same time, like we do in Jupyter Notebook.
Okay, like Jupyter Notebook. Yeah, yes. It is actually possible. Something that we mentioned very quickly at some point. But probably, Nick, if you have the RStudio open, you can show her how to do that. There is a green, let's say, arrows in the top right side of the chunk where you can use for running that specific chunks and see the results. So, Nick,
yeah,
let's try to do that and see.
Yeah, so for example, you can go here. I hope it won't take too much time, but basically here you're running everything in real time. So this is really helpful, like in Python, like in Jupyter Notebook. Basically, you can run just this chunk of the code, and you see that what happened here after we click. 2 things have happened. First is that there was a green light appearing here. That means that all the code is correct, that you have hopefully no bug, and it's actually running. So if you click on Meet, it will provide you an output. And also the global environment has populated. So basically you're running all of this information. And this is very useful when you create a new report and maybe it doesn't work or it doesn't meet appropriately. And
one thing is very important to mention. Sorry, Nick, if I stop you. Somebody actually underlined it in the chat, and it's very important to say. When you click on the green arrow, you basically run what is inside that chunks. If you run let's say a chunk which is not at the beginning but is the 3rd, the 4th, or the 5th, or whatever, then you need to run all the chunks before, because the only code that you are running in that moment is the code that is in that specific chunk. So if that chunk includes things that have been uploaded, for example, in a previous chunk, then you need to run the chunks before. So when you use this approach for seeing your results, as long as you create it, basically, it's very important for you to remember to run all the chunks before. Otherwise, you will have an error, basically. Okay?
Sorry for interrupting you, but after to do the net and you open the browser window, it's not possible to edit after it.
If you mean that you want to edit the
document.
No, you cannot do that. After you have knit then you, I mean, when you need, you create a document that is a photography of what you had in the moment you made the need. What you probably are talking about is the notebook, not the R-Markdown. The R notebook uses the same language and syntax of R-Markdown, but it works as Jupyter, basically. So you can see as if it was in PDF or already knitted, let's say, you can see the things changing. And that works exactly like a Jupyter notebook, is the R notebook. Okay, probably this is, but it's not an R-Markdown. Is I mean, when you click on File, New File, you can see Markdown or Notebook. It uses the same syntax, but it's a different kind of document.
Okay, thank you so much. And
thank you for appearing on the stage.
Okay, next time I hope to see you in Italy.
Yes, yes. Interesting. Hello, Rita. Tell us something.
So hello. So I joined to say thank you because it was very useful.
Thank you.
Honestly, because we are trying to do this work. My work, we are trying to use Markdown. We was using Office R. So we are trying. There are people that are working out to really automate because we need documents that have to send it to other department. So I believe that the approach. See what we was trying to do. I believe that your approach it's very useful because of this render function. We didn't know it.
And very glad about that.
Yes, and I believe that it will really makes the work for other people because since everybody should follow the same structure, we will say, will be very, very useful. So for me, I don't have any comments because I really learn how now to. So now I'm very curious to apply what you say to my report that I have to do for Monday. So I really
okay.
Okay,
good luck with that. Okay, good luck with that.
To elaborate on that, Rita.
Yeah, so it's
one approach we used, me and Cristina, in our work. We created two different render functions. We had a very complex data set to analyze. We created one render function, which was internally for data scientists, just to check the code and check the data cleaning steps we were following on a very complex data set. And we created a separate render function, which was more customer-facing in terms of seeing the final output and the different passages. This is also a way you can use in case it's useful. But glad that you're finding it useful.
And when you need something, some suggestion, please feel really free to contact us and,
yes,
and ask us for
I think that I will contact you because I really now try to, because at the beginning I was trying to think to move to Office R, because the thing is that we need to prepare a visualization and send a report that are in PowerPoint because other people need to read because the thing is not everyone likes PDF. So we
I know that. I prefer, I prefer working with HTML. It's something that is easier to share, for example. But really, feel free to, because basically we are art lovers, first of all. So for me, is it's always fun. I feel happy when I can create new things or find new ways. It's really interesting me. So that if we can help you, we'll be really, really happy to help you.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.